Hey everybody, this is Dan from Pain Free You. Today I have the pleasure of introducing Mandy from England, and Mandy volunteered to share her story with all of you, and the hope that it will inspire some people in their journey on getting rid of their own chronic symptoms. So Mandy, welcome and thank you so much. I
Hi,
appreciate it.
Dan. Hi.
If you would, if you can tell us a story, take us on a little journey as to kind of what happened and where you been and what you did and how you got better and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I will do. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you for the work that you do and the videos that you put out there. They've been a
Pleasure.
crucial part of my sort of recovery. Um, and yeah, I just wanted to sort of share my story so that it can help other people
Great.
that are going through the same thing
Mhm.
as what I've gone through, men and women. So basically, yeah, I'm 56 and my pelvic pain symptoms started in January 2022. And this was just about a month after taking semi retirement.
Oh,
Yeah. So, yeah.
welcome to retirement. Here's some pain free.
Yeah. Um, I was sort of driving and I felt a dull ache in my lower belly. Thought, that feels a little bit odd. I wonder what that is. How I can sort of describe it at first, it seemed to be a bit like I'd had endometriosis 15 years ago, and it seemed to be similar to that. So I couldn't quite work out what was going on. I left it a couple of days and decided to contact my GP, my doctor, and she did a lot of tests and a scan, and everything was fine. And she put it down to it being IBS because that's something I've had all my life. Recommended I just tweak my diet a little bit. So I have sort of spent years fiddling about with my diet due to the IBS, gluten free and things like that. Um, but it sort of got worse over the next few weeks and it seemed to sort of shift a bit. And the way I can describe it is it was like a cutting, stabbing, burning, aching all on one side.
Oh,
And it was almost like I'd been on a bicycle with a bad seat or something for a while. Um, and then it just got to the point, probably a couple of months in, where I just couldn't sit down.
okay.
Um, and I was unable to sit down for a full year. And this really was the worst part for me because it changed my life in that I couldn't do any social things, I couldn't go out,
Right.
had to cancel concerts, meetups, even going in the car was, impossible at times.
Right.
So yeah, that was like for a year or so. The doctor had referred me to see two consultants, so I got things checked out with them, and they did examinations and couldn't find anything wrong. So I started sort of looking on the internet, as you do, wondering what
Yeah.
on earth's going on. Um, and then it seemed to get worse, and we were into summer now, and I saw an osteopath and he did something called cranial tapping, which is like tapping his fingers on the base of his spine.
Right.
And he said that was something to do with changing your nervous system. Um, but it didn't
Okay.
really do a lot. At
Right.
the time, I'd sort of come out of there maybe feeling a bit better, but then by the time I'd driven the 3 miles back home again, because I was sitting, of
Yeah.
course, I was back to square one.
Yeah.
But I stuck with it for 6 weeks. I thought, oh, I'll keep on at this. Did a bit more research on the internet, and then I booked in to see my first pelvic floor physio lady, who again examined me, said she couldn't find anything wrong, but she mentioned that I could have a hypertonic pelvic floor. So I went onto Google again and tried to discover what to do about this. And then I learnt about tense muscles and things like that. And then I got onto Pudendal Neuralgia,
Right. Oh boy.
and that was it then. I read all about that and all the people with all the symptoms. I thought, this is it, this is what I've got. um, and I was convinced. But what I couldn't quite understand was why there was no sort of nothing about it really in, the medicine world. And all these people were saying you'll never get rid of it, and
You
so it
you
was,
fell in you fell into what I call the bad neighborhoods, with
yeah,
people talk about how bad it is and that there's no cure, and we're all terrified, so let's help you get terrified too.
yeah, yeah. And then I did the worst thing, which was to join the Facebook group
Oh yeah,
when I was chatting to people. But having said that, I did meet a lady on there who I'm still friends with now, who has got herself better like me through doing mind body work.
it's great. Awesome.
And she's a great friend, and we can chat about anything. And it's been brilliant, actually, that connection with her. So that's been really nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, after then, I sort of had to give up all the exercising. I used to do quite a bit of swimming, and it got to the point where I did try swimming, and I could only swim one length with a float underneath myself because I dared kick my leg in case it was going to sort of trigger it off, which it usually did. So I got into quite a bad state, really. It was nearly a year down the line now. So I went to see a second pelvic floor physio, and she went through all the stretching that I should be doing. Also said that my posture was wrong. So I thought, oh gosh, I need to walk different and need to do this. And
Yeah.
I got 2 books, which was Heal Your Pelvic Pain and Headache in the Pelvis as well.
Right.
And that was about meditation, headache in the pelvis. I think he used meditation as a way of actually getting himself better. So it put the seed in my mind at that point that it's something to do with relaxation, and
Hmm.
I knew that I was quite anxious as well. I get quite easily sort of hyper and anxious.
Right.
Um, so I saw her for a little while, and something I realised was that when I went for a walk, and I went for a walk most days to walk the dogs, that it would go off after 20 minutes. It would ease off with the pelvic pain. So I thought, well, something isn't quite right here if it's going up when I'm walking. But then I was getting other symptoms coming up as well, palpitations and headaches and things like that. So it seemed to be when I didn't have the pelvic pain, I would get something else. Um, so yeah, I got into sort of a bit of a state, my lowest point, and I just didn't feel right. I knew something wasn't quite right, and it was almost like I felt quite scared, but I wasn't sure what of, really.
Right.
I wasn't. I was scared of the pain, but not to that extent. But I was more scared of sort of life, I suppose. Um, it was just a weird feeling. Nothing had sort of hit me like this before, because I've always had things in my life, illnesses. When I was 11, I had to have my appendix removed, and that was quite unnecessary because it wasn't anything to do with that. It was to do with my digestive system.
Oh, wow.
So, and then I've had, like, I used to grind my teeth a lot. I had to have a special mouth guard made, and vertigo, acid reflux, and lots of MRIs for different, back and knee and things like that. Um, so when I was on Google, I came across an app called Curable,
Right.
and I think that was just over a year after I'd had the pain, and thought, well, what have I got to lose? I might as well download it and try it.
Sure.
And that's when I found out about Alan Gordon and his work, and I got his book, The Way Out, and I read that. And then I was doing all the practices on the Curable app, the meditations and some journaling, and educating myself as well.
Right.
Um, but with the journaling for me, I did look into it with Nicole Sachs quite a bit. I couldn't quite get down on paper my feelings.
Hmm.
It was almost like I would type out what I'd done in the day rather than how I
More of
was
a
actually.
diary.
Yeah, that's right. So it was a bit sort of, it wasn't really helping to that extent, even though I did try it for the month every day.
Hmm.
But the most pivotal thing was in 2017, after we'd had a busy summer running our business. I got one morning and I just went really hot and I collapsed. And I ended up in hospital. My husband called an ambulance. Um, and my cortisol, they measured my cortisol level, was 3 times higher than it should be.
Wow.
And after then, I had 2 weeks at home feeling like I was dying, basically, with headaches and ringing in my ears and things like that. But they never really told me what to do about this cortisol level. Nothing was explained to me, or they actually referred me to a neurologist. And I went to see him, and he just sort of looked at me like I was silly. He didn't really give me any answers to anything. It was a strange sort of appointment. I always sort of was trying to explain to him how I felt so ill,
Mhm.
but he never really said much about it.
Well,
So I just got back into
if it doesn't fit into the type of things they see and treat all the time, sometimes they can just be stumped and not really know what to offer.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I think it was
and
it was
he
quite.
likely didn't come across with somebody with super high cortisol levels that passed out and then felt like, death for 2 weeks. It's not
Yeah,
a typical neurology appointment.
yeah,
So he was probably, I don't know.
yeah.
Okay, I'll let you continue. Sorry, just jumping
That's
in.
okay. Um, so yeah, I just went straight back into my busy life again without even thinking anything. Um, I just thought, well, I'm recovered now. I sort of feel a bit better. I'll just get straight back into it. I had quite a lot of stress going on, as everybody does, of course, in their life. My dad was really poorly. He had um, like a neurological disorder, which wasn't good to watch him suffer like that. Trying to juggle and things like that. Um, so what I did was I sort of educated myself as much as I could on this TMS. I read books by Dr. Schubner, Peter Levine, and even Gabor Mate, and the connection between the illness and things like that was all sort of meaning something to me more and more.
Right.
Um, I went to see my GP again on a follow-up appointment, and she diagnosed me with chronic stress. And then we had a chat about my pain, and she said to me, "I think your pain is psychosomatic."
Okay.
And I said, "Well, can that actually give you proper real pain? Because this is real pain." And she said, "Absolutely, it can."
She's right.
Yeah. And I went home that night, and it's sort of a bit of a light bulb moment, if you like. Um, the next day, I had a horrific migraine, and I think it was just the realization of it all. And I think you just feel quite scared that your body's doing this to you. That's how I felt anyway.
Yeah. Can I comment on the term psychosomatic?
Yeah.
It's actually factually very accurate. If we look up the definition of psychosomatic, it are somatic physical symptoms created by psychology, which is very accurate for the things that we talk about here all the time. The problem is when Dr. Sarno discovered this stuff and started putting it out there, he intentionally chose not to use that word
Hmm.
because the common interpretation was you're imagining this, you're crazy. And he did not want to associate what he termed tension myositis syndrome with it's all in your head, you're crazy. So he did not utilize psychosomatic. But, if we look at the definition, it's very accurate technically. So your doctor was on target by saying that. Um, and it's great that you asked the question and she clarified, yes, it can create real pain.
Mm,
Brilliant. Okay, I just wanted to, for anybody listening, who might interpret that term psychosomatic as, are you calling me crazy? No, we're not. It's real.
yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I did then after that, I think I used every tool I could really to try and find, help with calming myself down and getting rid of this chronic stress that might then lead to relieving the pain a bit more. So I did like qigong and breath work and yoga. Um, Started to do a bit more exercise. Um, I actually found a guy called Tanner Murta, who is a Canadian chronic pain specialist on YouTube, and he puts videos up, and some of them were useful. But then I put chronic pain in, and you came up, and I did the assessment,
Hmm.
and I was just shocked, absolutely shocked at, you know, the results basically.
Right.
So I thought, right, I'll have a listen to your videos. And I think I watched over 2 or 3 days quite a lot of videos, took them in, and I just felt a sense of complete calm. I could really relate to them, and they helped me so much. And I was feeling a lot better. So thanks, Dan, again for those videos.
And take the mystery out of what's going on. That's really the goal, is to
Yeah.
explain how this stuff works. And from there, yes, there's some concepts about teaching your brain you're actually safe, but really the foundation is, how does this system called the human body work? The brain, pain, nervous system, stress, like all that stuff. Once we understand it, then we
Hmm.
can work with the brain to give it what it needs to turn off what I call the false alarms.
Yeah.
So I'm thrilled that you found it, and
Yeah.
it's immediately calming for you, which is
It
really
was.
fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I also listened to quite a lot of success stories, and I found some pelvic pain ones. I think there was a lady called Laura Haraka,
Yep,
and Rachel Goffman as well,
sure.
um, and found other podcasts, and immersed myself in it really. And I actually felt quite hopeful that I was going to maybe get somewhere, but it was always in the back of my mind that maybe it is something physical.
Um,
Yeah, so yeah, I was sort of starting to feel better, and then I think what happened then was I'd be okay, and I could be doing something like answering a text or cooking a meal, something as minor as that,
mhm.
and it would start up again. So I just stopped and I slowed my breath, took a deep breath. Your words and your videos, just take a breath and just relax. And but it just took quite a long time of doing that. Um, so then we're on to December 2023. So I'd had the pain 2 years, and I was starting to be able, in that last year, I was starting to be able to sit quite a bit more. Not all the time, but things were getting better.
Great.
And just near us, there was a lady, and she's a holistic pelvic floor physio. So I thought I'd go see her. And she sort of spoke to me, and she said to me, I think you just need to do one thing, and that's believe in yourself. And I said, well, what do you mean? So she says, well, you need to trust your own feelings. So I had a chat with her, and she said, I know a lady, and if you would have a talk with her, it might help you. And she's a psychotherapist.
Okay.
So I thought, gosh. um, so I did have a chat with her, and I spoke with her for a full year, most weeks as well. And she told me that what I was feeling was because I used to think I was too sensitive. I had a lot of repressed emotions, basically. And what was sort of, there was nothing wrong with me. It's something that happened to me that made me sort of bottle everything up.
Mhm.
So I don't really want to get into the complexities of
No,
it, but I'd sort of grown up in, witnessed a lot of anger and control and happiness, and pushed that all down for 5 decades.
yeah. And we don't want to model what we witnessed. So we say, I don't ever want to be like that. You may
Yeah,
not have ever said that out loud, but subconsciously you were like, if I'm angry, I'm out of control, like what I grew up around. I had a very angry father, and I actually said out loud, I don't ever want to be like him. What happened when I was an adult and I had normal life situations create anger? Push that
yeah.
away. So yeah, very common.
Mm. yeah, and I had a lot of hurt as well.
Mhm.
Um, and I found this part of it quite difficult to try and feel my feelings, really, because I don't think I've ever allowed to feel them because I thought I've just got to get on and bit of a people pleaser, I suppose, in life as well, and don't want to rock the boat, things like that. Um, so yeah, I learned about self compassion and taking self care of myself, which was a whole new world to me, basically. I remember doing a breathwork class, a workshop, and it was one of those conscious breathworks, and I just cried like a baby, basically, because there was that much sort of hurt and whatever inside. But then afterwards, I just felt so much lighter, and I felt really well for quite a few days after that. So again, it was something that I'd never had that feeling before of feeling lighter. Um, so yeah, the pain was reducing now, and we're sort of into 2024, and I
Right.
had to make some changes in my life, which have been really difficult to make. Um, but I knew I had to get better because I thought if I don't do something, I'm just going to get sicker and sicker. That's actually what I did think would happen. So with the help from my wonderful husband and my daughter, they supported me through all this and using the tools. I've just continued to work at myself. Um, I've read quite a few books, and one that sort of springs to mind was "Heal Your Life" by Louise Hay.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
Yeah, that sort of really did help me a lot, and it's something I keep referring back to as well. Because she became quite poorly, didn't she? And she got well
Right.
just by changing the way that she lived her life.
Sure.
Um, so yeah, and then I bought your book a few weeks ago, Dan, and amazing. I must say it's really really good. What I like about it is it sort of lays it out in layman's terms as to what you need to do, all these 6 things, that the emotional safety and the self. And that really did help me because it gave me sort of, because I was a bit all over the place. Is it my emotions? Is it I'm not looking after myself? When the pain did sort of come on a little bit. Um, but
It's not
yeah,
just one thing. It's an
yeah,
overall perception of am I in trouble, aka danger, and how can I convey an overall sense of I'm okay, in other words, wellness, safety. And so people are like, they spend all their time on emotions, for example, or they spend all their time on in doing body treatments. And it's never one thing. I don't think doing body treatments is really that beneficial. Chiropractic, acupuncture, physical therapy, those things never helped me. Why?
no,
Because the brain was creating the pain. How can a adjustment to my back fix an alarm that my brain is sounding? So, but I'm glad that the framework I laid out in the book was beneficial because you were able to see all the aspects of it.
yeah, 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 it really was, and it's something I can sort of keep referring back to, and it's just the little things as well of appreciation. It's made me appreciate all the small things in life, and I think the most transformational thing for me is that the beliefs thing, that these there's something that were given to us from a young age, and that's what I've had to work on, is sort of changing those beliefs.
Self-image, right?
Yeah, yeah. So that's been the biggest one last year, really, for me. Um, but yeah, I like the way you went into sort of explaining with the emotions and the chairs and everything, and
Sure.
just taking some time to do that. So yeah, I'm definitely getting there. I've been sort of pain free. Obviously, I get the odd little bit crop up now and again, but it's not an issue. I'd say maybe about 5 6 months.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So somebody might hear you say, I get the odd thing once in a while. And there's some skeptics out there that'll say, oh, Mandy's not healed if she still has
Hmm.
sensations once in a while. And to those people, I'll say, yes, she is, because she knows what it is and she's not bothered by it and she knows how to respond to it. and it reasonably quickly goes away, correct?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So it's a
Um,
recovery from fear more so than fixing body parts.
yeah. Yeah. It is the fear thing. I did feel generally quite scared of everything, really,
Sure.
which was crazy. Because I'd gone through life, I'd worked and raised my daughter and everything, and then it just all sort of came crashing down. And but one thing to mention is I did get quite a lot of the symptom imperative crop up. A lot of headaches, especially on a morning. I'd wake with a headache, and but that's probably because I'd had a really busy day the day before and just not tuned in enough to myself. Um, it's like a big wake up call to yourself, isn't it? Really, to actually take some time out and
Be nice to yourself.
um,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
yeah, symptoms can definitely be a barometer as to what's going on in your life and how you're treating yourself, and are you allowing yourself to experience life, the emotions? Are you not really ruminating as much on the stories and
yeah,
everything that's wrong? Like, feel the emotion, let it pass, don't ruminate. That's how emotions are supposed to be dealt with. And so the
yeah.
symptom imperative, is that still going on, or that's mostly
It is
surface?
a little bit, yeah, yeah.
And how do you respond to that? Do you know what it is immediately?
Um, I do now. Yes, I do now.
Which is
Uh,
tricky because you're like,
it
uh-oh,
is, yeah,
something new. Do I have to go through this whole process again?
yeah,
And my take is when we get a new symptom, the quicker we say, I know what that is, I'm not concerned, and we act and behave as if we're not concerned
hmm,
authentically, the brain goes, oh, Mandy's okay. And the symptoms can calm down right away.
yeah,
So that's a practice that you will continue periodically. I have
yeah.
had no chronic pain for 13, 14 years. And
Wow.
periodically I'll get a little twinge here or there, but I never fall prey to the fear because I know what it is and I know how to respond. And it goes away sometimes in minutes, hours, and at most a few days. So, yeah,
Yeah, and it's knowing that it's sort of in your subconscious as well. That was a big thing for me. Learning that it's. I don't think I'm scared of it, but it's sort of in your subconscious mind, isn't it? But
yeah,
it's
the lever as to whether or not symptoms show up or not is not under your conscious control. You can't
yeah,
make something hurt, nor can you make it stop hurting with conscious thought. That's like saying, okay, hand, come on and hurt. Can't do it, right? So if it's hurting, I can't turn it off that way either. So I like to use the word influence. We can influence the brain to turn it off by knowing what it is, being very super clear about it, expecting it to be a temporary thing. It's just a false alarm. So we expect the best. And if the symptoms are there, we respond as well as we can, as calmly, reassuringly, with as much clarity, and being as unbothered as possible. And when you do these things regularly, consistently, the brain learns, wow, look at Mandy. Mandy's not really concerned about these little twinges here or there, unconcerned, and even a headache.
mm,
You're not still not going into a panic about it. It's not
yeah,
fun. You may not like it, but you're kind of like, well, I know what that is. Probably stress. Let me be nicer to myself, relax a bit, and be unbothered by the symptom because you know it's temporary. And it's like that process: lather, rinse, repeat. It becomes very routine and very predictable.
yeah, yeah. And it just, I think it takes time as well to for your brain to be able to sort of accept that.
Hmm.
I don't know whether it's because I've had quite a long time of pain, 5 decades really of on and off things, nothing serious, but and lived in a state of fight flight, as my doctor said, for so long. And it's my default, I suppose, that I go to instead of being calm. So I do have to every day just tell myself to just take a breath and just relax.
Yeah. Basically, you're conveying safety
Hmm.
consistently, and you're doing your best to panic less if at all. And if you do notice yourself getting worked up, you recognize it now and you pull yourself out.
Yeah.
But that's recovery
Yeah.
because you understand what's happening. Initially, you're like, what the heck is happening? What's wrong with my pelvis? Oh my
Mhm.
goodness, I'm broken. How did that happen?
Yeah.
And we don't understand what's going on. And it is a journey to get there. And it does take an open mind. And you got little seeds planted along the way that, well, this, maybe that, and oh, that too. And you're connecting the dots and putting it all together. And yeah, you did great because
Yeah.
you were open-minded enough to say, well, maybe nothing else makes sense. Anything else you want to share?
Um,
Any
what
words
I'd
of
say to people,
advice to somebody who's got some pelvic pain or any other kind of pains?
I think for me, I was doing all the tools of like stretching and the meditating, and I was a bit too regimented. So I was doing that to try and get rid of the pain. But what I would say is do the things that you like to do, um, because you like to do them, really, to distract. I think it's more to distract your mind
Right.
than actually, right, if I've got pain, I'll do this and the pain will go off.
That's where I failed because I tried the breath work, the meditation, um, I did the journaling, and everything was a goal to let me do the thing to turn the symptom off, the pain.
Yeah,
And every time I got done doing the thing, I'd spend 20 minutes meditating and I'd say, did it work? Darn it, it didn't work. And I always had the wrong intention. Um, and generally, I'll say to anybody watching, if you'd like to meditate, do it because it
yeah,
makes you feel good and calm everything. But if you're doing it to eliminate symptoms, every time you still have symptoms after meditating, you're going to think, I'm meditating wrong.
yeah.
Now I need to meditate differently or longer or something. And I always was judging that the breath work, the meditation, the journaling, I was doing it wrong. Because if
Hmm.
it wasn't, I wouldn't have the symptom anymore. And that just kept me in fear and perceiving danger because I was doing it wrong and I'm never going to get better because it's not working.
Yeah.
You see how we can get caught up in trying to do the recovery perfect,
Yes.
but doing it with the wrong intention can kind of keep us stuck in that fear loop because we're always
Mm.
judging, I'm supposed to get an outcome and it doesn't happen. Well, meditation's not a light switch.
Yeah.
Neither is breath work. It's a tool to help create some safety, but we have to have the foundation laid of what's going on. How does this system work? Does this apply to me? Do the assessments. Oh my goodness, this is a mind body condition. My pelvis is actually fine. And all the other things supplement that core knowledge.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So yeah, the tool do the things that you enjoy, really.
yeah,
Um,
the one thing I'll often say is people say, "Do I have to meditate to get better?" I say, "No, you don't. But if you'd
mm,
like to, you can." And a question I'll ask is, well, if you were feeling great, would you meditate? And some people go, yeah, I actually really like it. Okay, great. Meditate. But if you turn around and say, no, I would never meditate, that's not who I am, then no, don't meditate to get better. You
yeah.
know what I mean? Like it's not required. Lots of people are getting better without these various tools.
Hmm.
And so, to the audience, if you'd like to do some of that stuff, do it because you like it and it feels good to you.
Yeah.
And it creates a sense of, I'm okay. Wonderful. But don't immediately turn around and go, did it work? Because then you're going to always feel like I'm missing something. I'm doing it wrong. So,
Yeah. That's right.
anything else? Any other words of advice to words of
I
advice?
think just to look after yourself and think about yourself as well more. I know I didn't do that. Um, I didn't sort of tend to have what I was feeling at the time, and it's been a big wake up call. So yeah, just to tune into yourself and don't doubt yourself. Really, that's something that that lady said to me. You know, that you're doubting yourself again, and you shouldn't be doing that. So yeah.
Is there any, besides getting rid of the pain, have you noticed any other benefits or positive outcomes in your life as a result of going through this process? I mean, I know everybody wants to get rid of the pain, but did you have any other realizations that any other benefits or gifts that you kind of received from going through this? Is life any better, any different?
Yeah, I think for me, I see life a lot differently now, in that the small things are so important. I mean, I was quite appreciative of life anyway,
Mhm.
but you don't have to be doing something or going somewhere or buying something, or it's just getting out for a walk up the lane and
Right.
looking at the leaves on the trees, and it's just a whole new world, really. And just appreciating all just a cup of tea, or a coffee on a morning, things like that. Things you take for granted. I suppose gratitude, then, yeah,
Yeah,
is the
absolutely.
thing. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, unless you've got anything else to share, we'll wrap this up. I
Okay.
totally appreciate you doing this. Keep an eye on the channel. YouTube, Facebook should be out within several business days. And feel free to jump into the comments if you would like to, you know, answer some questions, or but you don't feel like you have to either. Um, but if you're interested in seeing what people have to say, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of really nice comments, you know,
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to help.
congratulations.
Yeah.
So yeah, feel free to jump in if you'd like.
Yeah.
And I will just make this offer. If there's anything I can ever do for you, you reach out to me. You know, kind of my way of saying thank you for sharing your story with my audience. So unless you got anything else, we'll wrap it up.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks,
And
Dan.
thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Sure. All right. So long.